Our normal news lineup to bring you the latest on the three-way talks between the leaders of South Korea, Japan, and China happening now in Tokyo. In fact, we are moments away from listening to all three leaders of the three nations give their press briefings after their little over an hour-long summit at the State Guest House in Tokyo. With me in the studio is Professor Song Se-ryun of Kyunghee University for his insights on today's trilateral summit. Great to have you here.
Good to be here.
Now, let's get down to the specifics before we cut to the scene there. We are now minutes away, as I've said, from seeing all three leaders give their press briefings in front of a countless number of cameras. Now, this is obviously something that we had not seen in the past couple of years, let alone South Korean president in Japan. I mean, since relations soured between the two. What do you make of this return of the trilateral summit?
Right. First of all, this is a return of the trilateral summit, so this is nothing new per se. But of course, this is a very special occasion because it comes in the wake of North Korean summit, and also we are looking forward to the North Korea and the United States summit. So I think this is in general occasion that the President Moon is assuring these countries that we need to stand together to get this peace initiative to the end. I will remind you that these both countries, China and Japan, at one point or another worried about either China passing or Japan passing, whether they are important ingredients or part of this talk. But I think that the President Moon will be assuring them that their role is very important, and especially China and also Japan's role in this is very important. Specifically, I think if they talk about the special meaning of the denuclearization, probably that would be a kind of step towards making this more concrete. But of course, I think what I would, first of all, expect is that those three countries will express their approval and also the support for this whole process.
I think moments ago while you were speaking, we've seen some scenes of the trilateral summit before, a little over an hour ago, before they actually held a closed-door summit. Now, how important, getting back to some of the questions I have for you, how important is today's summit, especially now this trilateral summit had been something that was scheduled weeks before, but just yesterday we saw North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and China's leader Xi Jinping. We were told and confirmed just yesterday that the two leaders held round two of their summit in a little over a month. This just coming in, and this trilateral summit now happening today, and with also U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in North Korea currently. What does all this diplomacy heavy in this South Korean and the Korean Peninsula make of this summit?
I think there has been a flurry of communications, flurry of positioning, so to speak, has been taking place in anticipation for the North Korea-U.S. summit. In all likelihood, it looks like the summit between the North Korea and the United States will be a forum where two countries will be really positioning themselves for some sort of deal. This peace deal in exchange for the denuclearization has been in the works for a while, and the details, of course, is something that everybody is looking at, what kind of denuclearization there will be and what kind of process they will go through. So amidst the skepticism, there are a lot of speculations. I think in that setting, the communication between and among the countries in this region is very important, because when we're talking about the details, we have to look to what kind of positions that China will have, and also what kind of positions will Japan have. Those things need to be aired out, and I think that trilateral summit meeting is a good place to talk about it, not at least among the leaders, but also people who are taking this process through. So I think this occasion is procedurally and also substantively very important.
With the latest development that we saw with Pompeo in Pyongyang and North Korea-China summit might have changed some things that the three leaders would have discussed today. Well, what do you think?
I think that first of all, they will talk about what kind of communication has taken place, especially the summit between the Kim Jong-un and the China side, Xi Jinping, a couple of days ago. I think that the meaning of it and what the substantive the agenda has been exchanged, I think that would be fully explored at least between the China and Korea. I don't think any substantial change has taken place so far, but I think that in terms of logistics and then preparation, the agenda seems to be shaping up.
I mean, adding all the more significance to today's three-way meeting is some of the soured relations that we've seen between all three nations. Korea, South Korea, and Japan were in a difficult terms in the past couple of years, having South Korean President Moon Jae-in be the first president in over 6 years to step a foot in Japan, and also with Japan and China, with Chinese premier stepping a foot in Japan also in over 2 years. How will all these three parties meeting for the issue on North Korea, will this meeting be an important foundation for all three countries to put their differences aside?
Right, I think you're right. This is a very opportune moment where all those agenda between or conflicts between the countries can be subsumed into under this big agenda of peace. The peace will encompass the security concerns that China and Korea had before, and also abductee issues and human rights issues that Japan had as against the North Korea. I think that those can be talked about under the aegis of the peace, and the way that the peace agreement or the procedure will go through, probably North Korea will take either gestures or some sort of measures to satisfy both countries, maybe not completely, but in a way that will make some progress in terms of relationship between and among these countries. I think that this is an opportune moment where they can air out their grievances, but in the context that they will all contribute to the peace process.
And also, while we still wait for that joint press conference, now today's trilateral summit is the first multilateral summit that we've seen since the thawing relations on North Korea. We've seen South Korea and the U.S. summit, South Korea and North Korea summit, and now two times of North Korea and China summit. How having this multilateral, multi-party summit today, will this work in terms of bringing back the six-party denuclearization talks sooner than many had expected?
I think that'll be. I think I'm optimistic about that because throughout this process of the talking with North Korea and all those, the six-party talks had played an important role and produced the significant agreement which North Korea backed out. So either bringing back that kind of framework would be easier to put a new kind of regime in place. So I think that all those countries in the six-party talks before would be interested in taking part in that. I think a lot has to do with what happens between the North Korea and U.S. summit, what kind of framework they want to pursue, either going back to what we had before, which would be easier, but then Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un could erect or start on a new path. So I think that's something that everybody's looking at.
And I think we are getting some live footages from the State Guest House in Tokyo. We're going to cut to that now.
日中間サミットが開催できたことを大変嬉しく思います。隣り合う3カ国の首脳が定期的に集まり、地域のさまざまな課題について率直に語り合う、このサミットが始まってちょうど10年になります。その間、経済、金融、環境、エネルギー、防災、青少年交流など3カ国の協力の幅は飛躍的に広がりました。10年もの歳月の間には、隣国であるがゆえにさまざまな問題もありました。 しかしこのサミットを通じて培われた絆によってそうした課題も乗り越えることができたと考えています。そして日中韓サミットは今や地域の課題のみならず世界のさまざまな課題に協力して対処していくための強固な基盤となっています。今回のサミットでは現下の朝鮮半島情勢への対応を3人で綿密に話し合いました。先月の南北首脳会談におけるム
Last
ン・
month,
ジェイン大統領の
at the
努力を
Inter-Korean
改め
Summit,
て
President Moon Jae-in has exerted great efforts, and I highly praise that again.
金正恩委員長が再び
This week,
訪中しました。
Chairman Kim Jong-un has visited China again,
完全な
and the developments in the
北東アジアの平和と
Korean
安定に向けた
Peninsula is moving
機運を
towards
国際社会と一層協力し
stability in Northeast Asia and complete
北朝鮮の具体的な行動
denuclearization.
へつ
And
なげて
we are
いかなければなり
going
ません
towards
そのための方策を本日
we're going towards firm actions, and this should lead to firm actions by North Korea. And this has been discussed today with President Moon Jae-in and Premier Lee Ka-chang.
これは
Uh,
日中韓3カ国
we also talked about endorsing and implementing the UN Security Council sanctions. And in order to resolve my tasks, our three countries will cooperate further.
に向けて
We will
私から
resolve the Japanese detainees in the
協
north,
力を呼びかけ
and
日本の
I have requested cooperation to the both leaders, and they have shared understanding for that
ミサイルの
issue.
諸懸案を
The
包括的に
detainees,
解決し
nuclear and missiles have been discussed today,
あれば
and we agreed that North Korea will walk towards
国交正常
the
化を
right path,
目指す
and then we
これ
can
が我が国の
we can establish normalized ties with North Korea. This is the stance of Japan. And we talked about how to have North Korea to walk towards the right path and draw a bright future. We talked about this path
意見を交わしました。
very frankly and exchanged our opinions.
私たち
For the establishing peace in Northeast Asia, the three countries will hold hands and exert our leadership.
この地域の安定と繁栄がアジア全体の安定
The
と繁栄
stability and peace in this region
そして世界全体の
will be the stability will be the foundation for world peace and stability.
韓国
Japan, China,
合わ
South
せれば
Korea,
実に
the
世
three
界の2割
countries
を占めます
account for 20% of the world GDP,
大きな存在感を示す
and we also play a crucial role
力を合
in
わせれば
terms of global politics and economic issues. And once we join hands, there's nothing that we can not overcome. We will cooperate in terms of AI and digital technology, and we three countries have great potential.
東アジア地域全体を視野にインフラ協力を強化するため
We will have
日中韓
our
の対
eyes on
話
the
協議を
entire Northeast Asia, and we will facilitate dialogue for peace
他の国々と
and
も
stability, and
パートナーシップを
we
拡大してい
will
く
further
この3カ国協力をもっと開かれたものとしていくことを
exchange our opinions, and we will again expand our cooperation, and I have endorsed cooperation from the both leaders.
世界の平和と安定のため
This
の
will be expanded to the region and to the world, and this will work as a growth engine,
私からは以上であります。
and this finishes my announcement.
それでは続きまして理総理ご発
Thank
言をお願い
you
いたし
very
ます
much. Now we will invite Premier Lee Ka-chang.
安倍晋三首相、文在寅
Honorable Prime Minister Abe and President Moon
朋友们
and all the reporters here today,
大家好。
Good morning.
刚才
A few minutes ago,
第7次
the 7th
中日韩
China-Japan-Korea summit was held
中
successfully.
日韩
The three countries
东亚地区
are
重要的经济共
very important economics
又互
in
为
East Asia,
重要的，
and we are also
我们之
very
间
important
召
neighbors
开
to
领
each
导人
other.
会议，讨论什么样的议题，
And today we
发
held
出
this
怎样的
summit,
声音，可以
and
说
our
地
opinions
区
are very important to
国
this
际社
region
会
and
也有
to
期待。
the international
感谢
community.
记者朋友们
Thank you all the reporters
所
for
做出
your
的
support
报道，也感谢
and attention to this meeting.
作为主席国为
And
本次会议
Thank
成
you
功举行
the
所做出的
Japanese
周
government
到的安排。
for hard work for this meeting.
中方是高度重视
China values this
你的
meeting
诚意和期待而来。
with
刚
sincere.
才我在和
We came here,
安倍首相
and a few minutes ago,
文在寅总统的
I
会
with
谈当中，我们
I
共
held a
同
meeting
回顾
with the two leaders,
展望
and at the meeting
中日韩
we talked
领导人
about
会议的历史，
the history of the summit and
特
the
别
future
是
of the
围
summit.
绕着近期
In
朝
particular,
鲜半岛出现的
recently
缓和
on the
及
Korean
实
Peninsula,
际变化，
we've seen
深入进
some
行。
positive developments, and we
三
also
方
talked about
一
those
致同意啊
developments.
本着已经达成的共识，
We will
抓住
continue
机
to pursue
来推动
the
三方的
consensus that we've reached
实现
already
三国
to
合作的
realize
健康稳定发展，
and further
并且
expand
能够
our
发挥
relations
各自的优势，造
to
福
exert
三方各国
our
人民
strength
也为地区、
for
为世界的和平
the
和
peace
发展
and stability of
做
East
出
Asia and the
积极的
world.
贡献。
We will continue to commit to the world and East Asia.
国际地区
We
问题的
talked
时候，
international
就
issues
朝鲜半岛
and about
核问题
North Korea,
深入交换了意见。
the Korean Peninsula, and nuclear issues.
我们欢迎
We welcome
朝鲜半岛
North
核
Korea
问题的解决，重新
solve the nuclear problem,
无核化的
come back to the denuclearization
对话的轨道上。
dialogue.
欢迎并祝贺
We welcome and
第3
celebrate
次南北
the
首
third
脑会晤成功举行，
Inter-Korean
Yes.
summit, which has held successfully, and I hope and I
支
expect
持
the US DPRK
实施。
summit will also be held successfully.
希望各方都能
I
够抓
hope
住
that
当
each
前的
party
时机，
can
推动
take this opportunity
恢复对话，
to resume
为政治解
dialogues
决半岛问题，为实现
to realize
半岛的无核化，
denuclearization and peace on the Korean Peninsula
来
and
做
realize
出各方
peace in the world.
应有的努力。中方
And each
会
party
始终
should
发挥
make
建设
efforts.
性的作用。在这
China
次
will
会上
join this effort as
我们
well.
也提出，希望啊，
I hope
中日韩
that
领导人会议
China, Japan,
能
South
够
Korea
定期
summit
举行。
can
大家都知道，
be held regularly. As you are all
本次
aware,
中日韩领导人会议
this
离
summit
上次已经过去
and the
了
last
2
summit,
年多时间
it has been about
按照我们
2 years
定
since the
期
last summit.
每年举行一次的时间表是有
We
变化
talked
这里面有
that
诸
we
多的
will
复
hold
杂
this
的
summit
因
annually,
素，
but we failed to
我们认为
do that.
中日韩领导人会议定
This
期举
summit
行，
should be
它可以
held
起引领
regularly
作用，因为
and
中日
exalt
韩之间可以说
leadership because the three
共同利益。
countries
是
have common
远大于分歧
interest.
而且通过领导人会议
And through this summit,
可以引导、扩
we
大共同利益
can
可以去
further expand our common interest
分歧，
and solve
保持这
some
样一个机
conflicts.
制，定期地举行
Continuing to
它会起到
hold this
重要
summit
的
is very
导向
important.
作用，
in this regard.
愿意按
China hopes
规定接任
that
下一届的主席国。
hopes to hold this meeting regularly, and next time we will hold this meeting in China,
如期举行。
and I hope that this meeting can be held
中日
as
韩在
scheduled.
当前的情况下，作为重要的经济体，
The three
应该共
countries
同维
can
护
play a role as
自由贸
the
易
important economies in this region.
全球化进程。
We can
我们
promote
都是
globalization.
全球化进程当中
In the globalization process,
受益者。
we
即便在
benefited
全球化进程
from the
过程当中
globalization.
出现这样那样的问题，我
And
们不
we've
能
seen a lot of
还
problems
是要通过
in trade
继
recently,
续推动全球化
but we should continue to pursue globalization
相关问题，
and solve relevant
贸易自由
problems
化，
related
反对保
to
护主义的情况，
trade and
这样
trade
三
protectionism.
方受益，各方受益，世界受益。
This is
我们
the right
认为
direction we
这也
should
是在
go
当前保持
and walk
世界经济复苏势头的
for the world
良
economy's
方。
recovery.
正因为如此，
We should work
三
together.
方应该
That's why the three countries
加快
should and
我们
want
三方的
to
自
expand
贸区谈判
the trilateral
推进
FTA
，RCEP 的谈判，用实
and
际行动
RCP
来表明
consultation. This means that the three leaders
支持
are
自由贸易，而且
promoting free
通过我
trade
们的
through
相互开放
practical
扩大开放
moves. We will also further open our
我们
markets.
三方可以成为其他各方
This
的
way,
大市场，
we can become a big market for other countries.
融合发展，
We can
就是我们愿意建立
achieve mutual
中日
prosperity.
韩加 X
China
机制。中日韩我们之间有
The
着
three countries,
经贸的经济
when it
的
comes to trade
互补性，
and economy, we are supplementary,
互补可以形成一个联合的竞争力
complementary.
和第三方或者叫做第四方
The three
或者叫
countries,
做 X 方，
or we can also work together with other
这样的
countries.
话也可以使
This
合
way,
作方或者合作对方受益。中日韩
we
本
can
身
benefit
也可以
from
逐
the
步地提高
cooperation.
或者说更大程度的提高我们的国
This
际。
way, we can also expand our
总之，
strengths.
中日韩不仅在
Lastly,
维护地区
the
稳
three
定
countries
维
should
护
play a
世界
important
和平
role
在
in
推动
protecting the peace and stability
发
of the
展
region.
促
At the
进
very same time, we should also play an important
在
role
深化人
for
文交
the
流
world
夯实我们之间的
peace
民
and
主基础方面
prosperity. And
领
in
导人会
particular,
负有责任，
we should
我们也
promote
具有
people to
很
people
大的
exchanges,
和空间。
and we should take that responsibility. Take that
我们
responsibility.
愿意作为
We
下一
want
届的东道主，中方会
China will hold this meeting next year,
落实本次领导人会
and
议
we
达成的
hope
共识，
that
不仅是共识，而且我们在会上还谈
build
到了
on
一些
the
具体的
consensus
合作
that we have
项目
reached
我
with
们
the
要
two
让这些
leaders.
合作项目
We
深
will
耕
promote,
落地
further
反过
promote
来
the cooperation.
中日韩领导人会议的确有着引领性
This
作用，
summit
使我们的
is very
三
important,
国合作成为东亚合作的
and we can, through this summit, we can
成为
make the three countries become the main parties in
重
the
要之锚，
East Asia
全球发展的重要的
and
动
an
力。
important engine of the world economy. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。それでは文大統領からのご発言をいただきます。
Thank you very much. Now let's invite President Moon Jae-in.
이번 정상회의를 정성을 다해
I would like to extend my deepest appreciation to Prime Minister Abe for preparing today's summit and for welcoming the delegations from South Korea and China. And I also extend my gratitude to the citizens of Japan. Our three countries are close neighbors, historically, geographically, and also culturally. We are also crucial partners when it comes to peace and prosperity in Northeast Asia. Today, Prime Minister Abe, Premier Li Keqiang, and I reaffirmed the importance of the trilateral relationship and discussed in depth about how to strengthen our cooperation. Above all, we share the same view that a complete denuclearization, long-lasting peace on the peninsula, and improved inter-Korean ties are important for the peace and prosperity for not only on the Korean peninsula but also in Northeast Asia. In particular, I would like to extend my appreciation for the endorsement for the Panmunjom Declaration through the special declaration adopted by the leaders of the three countries today. I hope and I vow that close trilateral communication and cooperation to continue as we go towards establishing long-lasting peace. Our ultimate goal is to enable our citizens to feel and enjoy such achievements and benefits. Through this, we will expand practical cooperation, and we agreed to intensify coordination to generate future growth engines. Combating fine dust, contagious and chronic diseases, and other issues that threaten the lives of our citizens will be tackled together. We also have agreed to continue to discover practical areas of cooperation in the fields of energy and ICT. To intensify trilateral cooperation, an increase in exchanges and communication among our citizens is a must. From the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics to 2020 Tokyo Olympics, 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics, the Relay Olympics in Northeast Asia is a perfect opportunity for this. During the summit today, we reaffirmed the importance of people-to-people and cultural exchanges, including sports exchanges, and have agreed to expand the scope of trilateral people-to-people exchanges to over 30 million by year 2020. In particular, projects like Campus Asia and other forms of youth exchange projects will be promoted. I hope this can be an opportunity and hope for the youths of the three countries. Institutionalizing trilateral cooperation is important than anything else. Trilateral Summit is a foundation for peace and prosperity in the region. Today, we have shared our perspective and have reaffirmed the determination to hold regular trilateral summits. In addition, as the Center for Intensifying Cooperation, we will expand the role of TCS and have agreed to increase our support for this. Our three countries account for 1/5 of the world's population, 1/4 of global GDP, and 1/4 of world trade. Likewise, we play a crucial role in world economic growth and development. We also share the grave responsibility of stabilizing peace on the Korean peninsula. When we go together, I am confident that we can usher in a new era of peace and prosperity on the Korean peninsula and Northeast Asia. Now the three countries will become true companions that lead a great transformation in world history. I hope today's summit will become a landmark for intensifying and developing our cooperation. I extend my deepest appreciations to the both leaders. Thank you very much.
はい、ありがとうございました。以上をもちまして日中韓サミット共同記者発表を終わらせていただきます。皆様のご協力に感謝申し上げます。
Now, there you have it. Leaders of the three countries in a joint presser, South Korean President Moon Jae-in thanking his Chinese and Japanese counterparts for their support for the Panmunjom Declaration made possible from the recent Inter-Korean Summit, and the Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, and Chinese counterpart Premier Li Keqiang also voicing the need for a peaceful and Korean peninsula and the region. Now, I just want to get to you first. Professor, what did you make of the joint presser? I mean, it seems like that they met for the issue on North Korea, but I've been hearing much about their joint economic cooperation down the road. Your thoughts after listening to the summit?
Right. As expected, they talked about, in general terms, the support for the Panmunjom Declaration and in general, the cooperation amongst the three countries. But I thought it was deceptively very significant because, first of all, when we're talking about the North Korea relations, security and the peace treaty or some kind of framework for peace is important. But the next step is economic prosperity. It's a framework to help out the North Korea. And in that regard, China is very important and Japan is very important. As President Moon pointed out, it takes up, also Li Keqiang has also pointed out that the regional economy takes up about 20% of the world GDP. So in that sense, there's of course, the two countries, they're worried about whether they're being a part of this whole process or not. But at this point, it was important for President Moon to assure them that they are regionally and also in terms of the grand scheme of the world peace, very important partners. So I think he laid the groundwork for Korea to play a bigger role or the significant role in the second phase of this whole process of the economic cooperation and helping out to North Korea and kind of building the framework for the further regional economic development and the cooperation. In that whole process, I mean, I think it's also significant that all those little, I wouldn't say little things, but the controversies and conflicts that we had before with Japan and China probably will be resolved within this kind of framework. So in that sense, I think it was very significant.
Cooperation and economy may be a kickstart to bettering their bilateral and trilateral relations. And Chinese Premier Li Keqiang also heavily mentioned that this trilateral summit of the regional players will become a more annual summit down the road, and next year will be held in China. Will this meeting play as a safeguard in continuing the process of denuclearization on North Korea? I mean, keeping North Korea in check down the road by having these types of summit annually?
I agree with you. I think that China has always been a key player, a critical player in terms of relations with North Korea and the whole regional peace. In the upcoming talk between the North Korea and the U.S., I think the China will be playing a very big role, probably skewed more towards the side of North Korea because that's why they're talking. But beyond that, probably the relationship between the South Korea and the China will be important to mediate or kind of smooth out any potential roadblocks going ahead. So in that sense, today's talk is something of a making more of a dialogue friendly and making it more the regular so that there will be at least an ample communication chance.
And lastly but not least, speaking from each country's perspective, like you've mentioned, South Korea and North Korea had their inter-Korean summit just late last month, and China and North Korea also having close coordination with each other. But Japan, we have not seen much of a development between the two sides, between North Korea and Japan. And like Japanese Prime Minister also mentioned, he also talked about bringing Japanese detainees held up in North Korea back. So will we be able to see their bilateral ties improving in the coming days?
I think so. Japan has worried about it mightily. That's why Shinzo Abe went to see Donald Trump and talked about the detainees, and is still talking about the detainees because at least in the initial phase of peace treaties, Japan has a very small role because it was driven by the North Korea, U.S. and South Korea.
With many even saying Japan passing, so to
right.
speak.
But in the next phase of economic development, probably Japan has a bigger role and maybe a critical role in making that happen. So in that sense, the Shinzo Abe needs to be here, and the President Moon had to assure Japan that Japan is the big partner in the whole process.
That is it for us, it looks like, with the time given. Now, that is it for the time now we have. But do join us again at noon Korea time, coming up a little less than 15 minutes time, as we will be back with more updates on this trilateral summit and the meetings behind it, the first of its kind in over 2 years. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.